Hello, Professor Chilton. Today's date is May the 24th, 2022. This is my oral essay on witchcraft traditions, Louisiana Voodoo. Having grown up in a Roman Catholic-centered school system, the research of other belief systems was not highly encouraged. As such, many misconceptions surround these topics that were considered taboo or wrong to study. Considering Louisiana Voodoo, or New Orleans Voodoo, is sometimes referred to as Voodoo Catholicism, a combination of West African and Catholic belief systems. You would think that the Catholic school system would incorporate some of the religious subculture into their teachings to broaden the perspective of students. Instead, this institution seemed to encourage stereotypes based on negative worldviews. By the end of this research assignment, I hope to discover more about the belief system of the past present, some practices associated with Louisiana Voodoo, and to share some knowledge about a prominent voodoo queen named Mary Laveau. Long before African religions were brought to the Americas during the slave trade, many different belief systems were present in Africa and still are today. While the belief systems themselves were numerous and varied depending on the religion in question, the majority of African religions are based around a belief in a higher and lower God, belief in spirits and veneration of the dead, magic use, and traditional African medicine. This is from Wikipedia. Voodoo is a West African sub-religion practiced by a diverse group of people from several different regions, including Benin, Togo, Ghana, and Nigeria. This is also from Wikipedia. It is a cosmology-centered religion which focuses on spirits and other elemental forces that govern all aspects of creation. Different from the other religions practiced in the interior portions of these countries, it is the main source of beliefs and practices of other religions with similar names found in the Americas, including Louisiana Voodoo. In its native land, followers of this religion believe in the creator that is embodied in two aspects: a divine female named Mawu, the moon goddess, who is gentle and forgiving, the coolness of, think of the coolness of night, peace, fertility, and so on, rain, life. And a divine male aspect named Lisa, the sun god, strength, heat, day energy, which is also an aspect of life. So it's like night and day, right? You need both. A voodoo proverb that sums up this symbiotic relationship very well says, "When Lisa punishes, Mawu forgives." And this is from Parinder 2014. Practitioners generally believe in other spiritual entities as well, which rule over other aspects of life, such as farming, love, and war. And we can actually draw parallels to this in Christianity because there's different saints and spirits that people pray to in their worship of the divine. These spiritual entities were believed to be messengers of the creator, so they would carry the prayers of the practitioners to the creator. So this is what I was talking about, the similarities with Roman Catholicism that include the intercession of saints and angels, which is defined as a practice of praying through saints to speak to God. And that's what allowed this cosmology or witchcraft appearing religion to be compatible with Catholicism, because they would pray to spirits that would help them farm, which would be the same as like praying to an angel which would help protect or give strength. It's something similar to this. So what exactly then is Louisiana Voodoo, and what do practitioners believe? Originating in Louisiana, it is a combination of several traditional religions of West Africa, Catholicism, and Haitian Voodoo. This is also from Wikipedia. For the most part, an oral-based religion, there aren't many formal creeds or sacred texts. There also isn't a structured hierarchy like you would find in Catholicism or Islam. And practitioners often adapt voodoo itself to suit their needs, often adopting ideologies and practices from other religions, including Judaism, the Kabbalah, and Hinduism. So many practitioners of voodoo are also members of the Roman Catholic faith, which is no surprise. From this, we can infer that Louisiana voodoo can be a standalone religion, or it can be combined with other traditions as needed and practiced alongside more other popular faiths. And this is interesting to me because as I was writing this, I thought, well, could we relate voodoo possibly to an animal? And if I could, which one would I choose? I would choose a chameleon. I think of chameleons as sturdy, intelligent, resilient creatures, very adaptive. As we know, they can change their colors to blend in seamlessly with their environment. But it's also its own standalone creature, you know? So I thought that was an interesting parallel to draw. Louisiana voodoo is described as being highly matriarchal due to the exceptionally dominant role priestesses have played in ceremonies. These were free, meaning non-enslaved women of color who were thought to be a direct threat to the ideas of white patriarchy. This is from Wikipedia 2022. So this is playing into the whole negative stereotype surrounding voodoo because of basically well-respected, successful women who were just maybe a little different. Like, it's just strange. And it literally has done nothing but harm the way that voodoo was perceived and women in general, not just women of color, but we see it through history, the persecution of women for many different reasons. So that aside, what can you expect to experience at a typical Louisiana voodoo ritual? Singing, a lot of singing, dancing, colored flags, and drawings used to invoke spiritual energy. There are 4 phases to these rituals. There's a preparation phase, invocation phase, possession phase, and a farewell phase. We won't get into too many details, but as we can see, it's very similar to the way that in Catholicism their sermons are laid out, very similar. Practitioners dress in white for these ceremonies. They dance around a central pole called a poto mitan, and women drop colored flags while singing beautiful music. They make drawings on the floor to invoke spirits, where offerings will be made to these spirits, usually rum. And they may even use voodoo rites to call upon spirits to enter the bodies of the practitioners as a form of possession, but these possessions are for healing or blessing purposes. And this individual would be called a horse. This is from Wikipedia. So there is no negativity here. This is all just for healing and blessing purposes. Many practitioners of Louisiana voodoo keep altars in their home located in either the living room or the kitchen. These altars are used to commune with ancestors, and often food and drink, sometimes encircled by coins, are left there to honor the spirits of the deceased. Sacrifice has been performed at these altars, and I could not find very many credible resources in regards to this, but in the older days, the raising of your own food was very common, and also the slaughtering of the animal was done at home. And so practitioners of voodoo would do this with the utmost respect and reverence for the animal. And but the practice has been banned in more recent years just because of the cruel aspect of the nature. Like people just didn't understand. They prefer to just buy their meats now like everybody else. But most people are not farming and growing their own foods anyways. So this is nothing new. But this is also from Wikipedia. And the part about it's the offering of the life-giving energy into the altar. It made the food sacred, and this is from Haas 2011. One of the most, now I'd like to talk a little bit about Mary Laveau, and I'm sorry I'm going over, but this was a long research assignment for me. One of the most prominent women practitioners of Louisiana voodoo was named Mary Laveau. She was born a free woman of color in 1801. This is very important because a lot of women and men at that time were not born free, which means outside of slavery. They were born as slaves. This woman was not. And she entered into a relationship with a noble person of French descent after the death of her first husband, where they had several children, according to birth and baptismal records. Baptized Roman Catholic, She was a well-known voodoo queen who was famous for helping her customers with family disputes such as health and finances and other ailments with her knowledge of local plants and herbs. She also made a very lucrative living with a beauty parlor, hairdressing for the wealthier families of New Orleans. Now, it's very unclear if her magical career can be verified, including her ties to the occult. What is clear, however, is that she was a remarkably successful woman of color who was well respected by members of her community. And a successful woman during this time would definitely have been regarded as an oddity, though not unheard of. However, we can see how a phenomenally successful and respected woman, especially of color during the 1800s, would have a lot of mystery imposed upon her by people who may not have understood her beliefs and values. But many sources describe Marie Laveau as an intelligent woman who possessed great beauty, very charitable, and a wonderfully skilled herbal healer. And this is also from Wikipedia. So it is obvious here that some negative stereotypes of this religion can be created by those who misunderstand the meanings and actions of what the practitioners are doing. But a lot of what voodoo is about is a connection to the moment or the here and now, like an embrace of the universal Holy Spirit, Haas, 2011. Personally, I have always believed in a single unifying spirit that connects the entirety of existence. So I can see many parallels of my own belief system that align with voodoo, though I could draw the same conclusions for almost any religion I can think of, which incidentally is part of some voodoo practitioners, taking what they see as valuable from other religious sources and incorporating it into their own practices and belief system. Fear of the unknown can lead to many negative stereotypes that honestly do much more harm than good. Allowing our inventive minds to fill in the blanks about other people's lives can lead to some irrational thoughts about cultures and belief systems and about the people themselves. This religion seems to me to be a sort of goddess or earth worship where energy and knowledge of medicinal herbs helped people with a variety of problems in their daily lives and brought them together as a community. It is definitely not something to be feared or held in a negative light due to misconceptions about differences in practices. And as a final note here, while this is a course on witchcraft and voodoo does have some magical elements associated with it, so do other religions. As such, I have a tough time separating witchcraft from religion. I see witchcraft as a type of religion and refer to voodoo as religion instead of witchcraft. I apologize if my use of the term religion to describe voodoo in this context is confusing or inappropriate. And as a final point to make, I would like to say that yes, a lot of my negative views on voodoo have been dispelled because there really isn't anything negative about it. It's just a lot of misconceptions out there. Fear of the unknown. Fear of the unknown. Very terrible. Okay, so also I do not know how to add in a video or to add this into the video, so I'm going to just hold up my bibliography here. And hopefully you can see that. And you can pause it. Maybe I'll put another page behind it so it's a little more clear. There's quite a few references. Most of them are Wikipedia, but there's a couple of books there. Okay, anyways, thank you so much for watching this video, and have a wonderful day. See you later.